Hey everybody, it's me, your local glamour ghoul, Severely Mame. Today I wanted to take you on a project journey with me while I make a new custom front doormat for my house. Now, everybody knows that I am super obsessed with Vampira. I have a portrait of her on my arm. I am a longtime obsessed fan. Now, I don't know exactly why, but it's a huge thread I've seen in like a lot of queer people being super obsessed with her. She's just visibly iconic, and even though there's so little footage of her existence, she is just so obsessed worthy. Now, in one of the press photos from her show, which I will show you here, I'll show you here, she is standing outside of her attic, and she has a doormat that says "Go away." So I thought today I would make that same doormat for my house. Now, I purchased a mat to start with. It is just a simple doormat that is the right size for my door. It cost me about $17 or $18, not breaking the bank in any way, and it's going to be a perfect base for my Vampira Go Away doormat. Now I also have some white acrylic craft paint, some paintbrushes, something to put the paint on, and some water. Now this collected a little bit of lint, so because it was rolled up how I got it, I wanted to make sure it was flat for when I started to work on it. And now it's got a little bit of fuzz, so you might see me kind of pulling that off while I go through. But this is going to be a super simple project today, but I thought it would still be fun to take you guys on the journey. Now, what I'm going to do is figure out kind of my center of the mat and decide where my letters are going from there. Now, when you look at hers, it just simply says "Go Away" in hand-painted white letters, which I'm going to try and replicate to the best of my ability. So I'm going to have my computer out so I can look at the reference photo and make this exact as possible, because it's something I've always wanted and never had really the reason to do it. Now with our cute little home, it is the perfect time. Now I usually would have filmed indoors, so sorry if there's any audio issues, but the house is currently being torn up. Our roommate is moving out, so it's just full of boxes, and also I am juggling painting as they're kind of packing things up in rooms so that in my off time from work, I can get the house kind of settled, and in the future there'll be way more videos on how I redecorate the house, so make sure to keep watch for that. Now, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, that way you can keep up with all of my projects, vintage sewing, vintage home, knitting, all kinds of things. And go ahead and like this video for me, and let's get right into our project.
So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what the center of my mat is. Now I just got the dimensions of it and put one sewing pin right in the center because I didn't need a full guide, and this might have been one of my first mistakes. I think that you could use like a string going across and finding the center point, or maybe some transparent tape to really mark it, because the first thing I did was make this G far to the left. I needed to move it over a little bit more to the right. I didn't plot this out as good as I could have, but I didn't know what I was going to be able to do to kind of like pre-mark it. Now, if you just saw that, I had painted the O and it was a little lopsided. So what I did was I took a wet brush with no paint on it and just kind of used the water to water down the acrylic paint, and I was able to kind of remove it. So I was able to erase a little bit with the acrylic paint. Now, I started with the W, the farthest line of it, to make sure that I placed the letters of away better than I did with go. Now, the away came out perfect. I think think it works really well. I used a smaller brush to start here, probably one that was about 3/4 of an inch wide. And these are stenciling brushes. These were just like Martha Stewart brand ones I have from a bathroom project that didn't work out. But we'll go into that when I show you guys the bathroom. Now here I am trying to fix my mistake with moving the G too far to the left. So I am using a wet brush again to kind of water down the paint and help me move it over slightly to the right. This I think was pretty effective. Again, it kind of got rid of the line and you don't really catch a shadow from it. So I was happy with figuring that out right away, that as long as the paint is still wet, I can kind of re-wet it and shift it over. So I am going in and painting this on. Like I said, I'm using stenciling brushes. I've used just acrylic paint here. I think that if I lived in a more wet climate, this could be an issue. You might want to use something more like an outdoor house paint or something like that if you're going to use this method for your home and live somewhere that it rains and snows. I'm in the desert. That's not an issue that we have to particularly worry about, especially with our covered porch. This isn't going to get wet very often. So I'm going in and I'm putting layers of paint down on this. Now I don't know if it's going to register on camera how much the layers made a difference. I'm trying to press the paint into the bristles of the mat, so that way it's not just sitting on top. I feared if it was sitting on top that it would crack over time and kind of get ruined really quickly. So I'm trying to push the paint into the mat so that even as it gets stepped on and used, it won't start to look bad because the paint's wearing away. Now, I don't know if this method is actually going to work. I've never done anything like this. This was just kind of a project on a whim that I got really excited about and just wanted to do with you guys. So you can see I've shifted my letters on top and my letters on the bottom. I was able to place really well, and I'm happy with how they look. Now, I'm going over in more and more layers. I used way more paint than I expected, which isn't a bad thing. I bought a lot of paint, but I was like, oh, I doubt I'm going to need all of this. But I put all the layers down, and I realized I needed to just kind of keep putting more paint on my brush. That way I can get more of a crisp, solid line. It's feathering out a little bit more than I wanted on the sides, so I thought it would be a good idea to just like really load up the brush with paint and hit every area with like a good amount and then brush it into the mat so that it wasn't just sitting on top. Now, this all is pretty, like, this took me about 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more to do. It isn't super long of a process, but I'm just painting on more and more layers to make sure it looks nice and dense and hoping that it won't really wear away. Like I said, I wish I would have made my go a little bit closer together, but that was my first mistake and really only big mistake. I'm really happy with how this is coming out. I think it looks just right. I'm curious if other methods might work better. I really do think if you live somewhere wet, using an outdoor paint is your best bet. But like I said, I'm here in the desert. It's not going to be too big of an issue for me, but you know, we get rain occasionally, so we'll see when that happens. But I think this is going to work out well. So you just keep painting layers until it looks exactly how you want it, and then you're just going to want to let it dry. I took it and I shook it out. A lot of the bristles on the mat got loosened up, so I shook it out once it dried, but then it was ready to go on my doorstep to welcome visitors to go away.
Okay, I recorded this entire outro once already, but the camera was too low. These are the things that happen filming by yourself. So, like I said, I had to film outside today. Sorry if the audio is too crazy. The house is just a mess inside. I'm happy that I did this project outside, even though I am extremely hot. It's about 102 today, but I was in the shade the entire time, so it wasn't too bad. Overall, I'm very happy with the results of this project. I think that I didn't do it in the best method possible. I think that it could easily be done with a stencil and spray paint. My initial thought was that I wanted to use a brush to integrate the paint into the bristles so that it wouldn't just crack over time when it's being stepped on. So I thought using a stenciling brush and kind of pounding it in and painting it on top would make it last me a little bit longer. Now, I think that doing spray paint and a stencil just on the top layer might have been a bit more effective and get a crisper line. I did struggle with that a little bit, but all in all, I'm really happy with how this came out. It's something I've wanted for years, and now I have it, and it will live on my doorstep until it dies, and then I will probably make another one. You can all make this and learn from my mistakes and try out a different method. And if you do try this out, make sure to tag me on Twitter and Instagram at SeverelyMame so I can see them, because I would love to see how yours come out. You can learn from my mistakes and make this even better. Now, if you liked this project, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. If you want to support me and making videos like this, you can follow the link below in the description to my Patreon, where you get exclusive content and support the creation of my videos here on YouTube and there. Now, I'm Severely Mame, and I will see you next week.